Hey there, this is Molly. Welcome back. I wanted to do another individual case study for you, looking at the sun and the moon, because these are the prominent energies in an astrology chart. And I thought it'd be good to look at the influence that the sun and the moon can receive when they are conjunct other planets. So in this chart, let's start by looking at this sun. It's here at 19 degrees of Taurus. It's actually almost 20 degrees of Taurus. See how it's 59 minutes, so we'd round up to 20 degrees of Taurus. And it's in the 7th house. The sun in Taurus is about making the world beautiful. It's about what can be created and shared that comes from a place of value and meaning. This is a very grounded, practical energy concerned with where something shows up. You know, how do I spend my time? How do I spend my energy? How do I invest in myself? What is the payoff for that investment? Taurus is associated with finances, money, stability, anything that provides security and that is known. There's also a strong energy of how can I take care of myself. There's the self-preservation part of it. And there's also an energy of, you know, wanting peace and wanting, again, things to be beautiful, things to be improved, and how things can be made in a way that offers value out into the world. And all this is through the 7th house of relationships. So how can relationships reflect back to me my own values and priorities, as well as where I feel loved and received in return? The 7th house, we say, you know, it's about relationships, cooperation, giving and receiving. But typically, you're also looking at how others give to you with the 7th house, how others are in an equal balance of giving and receiving, but it's something that can be unconscious because the planets in the 7th house can do a lot to keep the peace or to keep the relationship. So I also, highlight to people, you do need to be aware of any codependence with these 7th house planets that's unconscious, what you've unconsciously done for other people or for the relationship, and what in you has been unfulfilled. So in this chart, we can see how the sun in Taurus is conjunct Chiron. And so Chiron is the wounded healer, meaning at a soul level, this individual came in to heal something very deeply and within themselves, within their own being, within their own relationship patterns, perhaps through multiple lifetimes, within their own self-awareness, within their own ability to love who they are. And the Chiron energy at first can bring up a wounding. So when I see strong Chiron in a chart, there can be an experience of pain in relationships, abandonment, something that makes you feel less than or not as lovable. It is always our vulnerable spot wherever Chiron is in your chart. And it makes us think about where we are healing something deeply. And in this case, it's to be seen and to receive love in relationships that reflects back to you. It's like this bigger understanding of what it means to be in partnerships with people. And I'm referencing this in the 7th house. It would be different in a different house in your chart. So with that Chiron energy conjunct the sun, this is a lifetime of healing your own sense of loving yourself, self-value, and self-worth. And this is already a big part of the Taurus journey. But with that Chiron energy there, it brings in more significance. And one thing to understand about Chiron and the mythology of Chiron is that he was a centaur, kicked out essentially of what was the norm, and became a very skilled alternative solution finder, meaning the Chiron energy is good with whatever is outside the mainstream, finding solutions where you didn't know there were any. And this is where there's the potential to look at what works for you energetically and to not expect yourself to do what everyone else is doing. I think that's part of the healing journey of a strong Chiron, is that you're looking for alternative methods, alternative means. And in this case, with that sun there, of personal expression, of knowing yourself, of self-identity, of feeling really strong in who you are. And the Chiron energy is going to actually heal you when you're not expecting something to show up through typical means. So for example, Chiron is associated with alternative healing methods, what is outside the mainstream medical community, for example. It's associated with going into the forest and finding the organic, natural properties of the earth that support the self, that support the body. So for this person, that could be one way that they stay strong in themselves, is by, looking at anything that is alternative, certainly organic, especially being a Taurus. So it's alternative healing methods is a strength of Chiron. And also being very aware of what vulnerabilities show up in relationships, what patterns are repeating, because this Chiron is going to help you solve it. It is an ally. It is an ally. Although when someone's younger, again, there could be a feeling of being ostracized, being abandoned, being rejected, because it brings up the wound first. It's like if you don't know where the wound is, you can't heal it. So this is a very deep healing energy. All right. So that's the Sun, and that's conjunct Chiron. And then I want to turn your attention over here to something else quite significant in this chart, and it's the Moon at 22 degrees of Sagittarius, but it's at 49 minutes, so we would round up to 23 degrees. And it's conjunct this Neptune at 26 degrees of Sag retrograde. So this is also significant. And the Moon being your daily needs, how you move through your world, your sense of how you spend your energy on a daily basis, your emotional world, how you react and respond. In Sagittarius, it can be very inspired and wants to explore and learn. It's a very much about learning and what am I supposed to know about this and how can I trust myself? And when this energy is conjunct Neptune, Neptune takes over. Okay, so this Neptune energy can even feel like a moon in Pisces because Neptune rules Pisces, and it's a very big trusting energy. And in fact, this moon can disappear like into the mists of Neptune. The moon becomes heavily influenced by this Neptune and makes the individual more intuitive, more trusting. There can be removals with Neptune because Neptune is about going higher, going into the intuitive and energetic realms, going into the spiritual energies and spiritually trusting, and especially in Sagittarius, where you're really looking at how you travel with faith in this lifetime, how you travel with trust, especially in yourself on a daily basis. So when I see a strong Neptune in a chart, my first question typically to an individual is to ask them about their own spiritual beliefs, and especially in Sagittarius, what are your belief systems? Because you'll need to tap into those daily. This can signify when the person was younger that they were in a belief system that maybe overwhelmed them or was a lot to take in. It was just something that they knew, and maybe they didn't always ask questions. It was just what they were taught. And so they were conditioned heavily by religion or spiritual beliefs. That's part of this Sagittarius and Neptune energy. And then as one matures and the transiting planets come through, there can be a sense of, I have to go out and do this on my own because of that Sagittarius energy of exploring. So I need to go find what I believe, what works for me, what solidifies me, especially in that second house of stability and how you feel strong in yourself and in the world. So this is a very spiritual energy coming through. This also signifies that when someone was younger, that moon is the mother. So a heavy influence from a mother figure, whether that's biological or another family figure or another mother figure. But the mother, the energy of this Neptune would be associated with the mother. It could also be that because Neptune makes things disappear, a disappearing mother or an inconsistent emotional foundation. It can be even abandonment that leads to as one matures, how do I trust in myself if I'm alone on this journey at times? And I'm just speaking in very, broad ways here. So obviously this is something that each person would have to apply to themselves and to their own world, because these energies can show up in many ways. But that Neptune influence is like a disappearing mother or a disappearing emotional support system, or it can even be discouragement and not knowing what to believe and not knowing how to believe in oneself. So this is a really big deal here in this individual's chart, because they're really learning trust in this lifetime, trust in themselves, but trust in spirit, because when you connect to that Neptune intentionally, there's a bigger picture here. There's a bigger energy playing out that the humanness doesn't always understand. So it's quite significant. And you can see how in this chart, not only is it the moon conjunct Neptune, but the sun conjunct Chiron. There's a lot in this lifetime that's being healed and being developed through a spiritual connection. And all of that is part of this individual's soul growth, depending on how they choose to move through life and what they choose to express. But it's very significant, and it's rare. I don't see this very often, to have both the sun and the moon conjunct these prominent energies. Means that there can also be, I'm going to call it rewards, especially with the Sagittarius energy, and financial rewards with that Taurus energy, of when you click in to the influence of these planets. Like, you click into the influence of Chiron, you click into the influence of Neptune in the chart. That's where things take off. That's where you're in alignment. The universe says, aha, you're on board with these energies. You're not fighting them. You're not denying them. You're working with them. And when you work with them, that's when things start to happen and the magic happens. So a very healing lifetime here, very strong energies to be aware of, and just to understand how important it is when the moon is conjunct a planet and the sun is conjunct a planet. So I'll be back with another one of these individual case studies for you soon. Thank you so much for joining me.